Well, hello again and welcome to our Tuesday chat. And it's great just to get a variety of people coming along and sharing with us. And I'm very thankful today that we can go over to Galway and say hello to Denis Mocker. So hello, Denis.
Hello, Stephen, and thank you for inviting me here today to tell my story.
Super. Thank you, Denis. We're glad to have you with us. Um, and glad that you can share with us today. And I've said you're from Galway, but you want to say something about your sort of maybe background, where you grew up and family or area.
Yeah, I grew up in East Galway, in the rural part of East Galway, and we had a farm, we had a dairy farm, and my parents worked the farm, and I had 7 older brothers and an older sister and a baby brother that died before I was born. So there was quite a big family of us working on the farm.
Great.
And going to school locally and all that, so it was a rural Catholic background, really, I suppose, a very Catholic kind of a parish, and very involved in church and parish and all that kind of stuff. And GAA was a big part, football, and football was a big part of life there in the village. So,
yeah. Super. Great, thank you, gents. And do you want to move us on to sort of your early adulthood or sort of teenage?
Yeah, I guess I was born in 1972, and as was in 1984, I would have been 12. And so I'm a big fan of 80s music. 80s music has been my genre, And I went to secondary school in Montbellew, which is a small enough town in East Galway, very progressive kind of town, and that's where I went to school. I suppose I was good at school. I was quite intelligent, quite smart, but and I found it easy to pass exams and stuff like that. And I suppose my sexuality was an issue at that stage. I knew I was gay, but I didn't really know what that was. It was no kind of there was no role models as such at that time in 1980s Ireland or anywhere really. I don't know, and there was no kind of there was kind of a feeling that there was something wrong about that, and that it was condemned by the church, and so my feeling around that was, and my understanding was limited, I suppose, but my feeling was that if I prayed enough, it would go away, but it didn't go away, of course, But, so I couldn't tell anybody, and I didn't feel safe to talk to. I wasn't close to anybody that I could talk to about it, and kept it secret for a good number of years.
Yeah. And obviously I can identify with some of what you're saying there. And anything else you want to say about your teenage life or your early years and how you reacted to the challenges of your younger years?
Yeah, well, my mental health broke down when I was about 16 and a half, almost 17 years old. And it was before, I think it was the year before my leaving cert was due. That's the final exam and in school. And I suppose it broke down because I just was struggling with my sexuality, and perhaps I had a sensitivity as well, quite a sensitive person. And just took a lot of stuff on board, and then it kind of something unfortunate kind of happened around that time as well, which triggered it and made matters worse. And I ended up in a hospital in the psychiatric unit in Galway, and I was there for about 4 months. So I was treated there for mental illness, I suppose. And, so that was big. That was a big challenge that age, you know. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just noticing your mug that you're using for your tea there. There's a bit of a giveaway on your mug of one of your passion. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, that's the guitar mug. I got that mug when I was doing a music course back in 2011, and I've kept it. I use it a lot, and so music is a big interest for me. And even as a teenager, I was very interested in music, and like as an older teenager, I used to spend a lot of time listening to traditional Irish music programs, not the instrumental music, but the songs, traditional songs, and I used to record them on tape. And I'd learn the words and I'd sing the traditional songs, and I was just had a fascination for those old songs. You know, not an awful lot of them, but quite a few. You know, and I loved the storytelling nature of them, and the heartbreak and the passion and just the Irishness of it all. You know, and so I got interested in that, and in my 20s, then like. You know, going out, I used to go to pubs and that, and I would invariably find myself in pubs where you could sing or where there was music, and I would often sing. I would often sing in pubs, and I wasn't playing guitar at that stage, but I would just sing with a cappella with it, you know, and I used to love that. I loved singing.
Okay, so sorry, I've taken an assumption that you started the guitar in your teens. So you didn't play the guitar until you were a little older, right?
No, I bought my first guitar. I think I paid £40 for it off a friend, and I bought it when I was 26.
Right.
That's when I bought my first guitar, and I'd say for the next 10 years, I could just about play a few chords, but I never really got into it. I might be able to play a song very crudely, but I'd say about 2008, I started to play it on a regular basis and learn it. And I started performing in public as well at that stage. So yeah, guitar became very much part of my identity at that stage. Then. So,
yeah. Funny, it strikes me as you referred to singing the songs in the pubs and everything, and you know that's for maybe me personally, that's a very different tradition than maybe what I grew up with. But is there something in that about, and you referred to story, expressing story and expressing yourself and your culture or your setting or your own opinions, anything like that attracted you to singing?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I've always had a good voice, and when I sang, people would listen and they would hear what I was saying. And I think there's something about songwriting and singing that being heard. You know, I remember I was very young, and I used to go down to my uncle a lot. My uncle lived on a farm, and he died some years ago. You know, but I remember he was giving me a lift, he was giving me a drive one day, and there was an article on the radio, an interview on the radio with a songwriter, and the songwriter said that he developed, when he was a child, he felt he wasn't heard, and he felt that songwriting was as an adult, he said songwriting was being heard.
Right.
Being heard. You know, I noticed, I thought about it at the time, you know. So as an adult, I suppose I felt, you know, I suppose it's not unusual for children to feel that they're not heard, you know.
Yeah.
So as an adult, I got into songwriting, and it is a good vehicle for expressing your story and other people's story, and anything that you be interested in expressing. It's a very good vehicle for that. So songs and poetry are very good
Yeah. And well, of course, Dennis, you have written various songs and poems um, yourself. I mean, did that just and you've published some, or you've certainly have a little book here. I should have had it ready in front of me.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I have it here. Look, there it is. That's
yeah.
it. Poetry from the heart of Galway.
Brilliant, brilliant.
It's one of my books. Yeah, yeah.
And do you want to say anything about that, or your inspiration behind your writing? And
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even as when I was about 12, I had this desire to write. I thought writing. I suppose I had a romantic idea about writing, and maybe it is quite a romantic thing to do. But I used to think that I'd like to write, but I didn't know how to write or what to write or how would you go about writing something, you know. And, like I used to watch a lot of TV as a child, and I used to think, would I love to write a script or something
okay,
like that? But I never knew how, you know. And but when I was in psychiatric unit when I was 16, I wrote my first poem,
okay,
and I read it there to some people it was an activities room, outpatients department, or kind of a inpatients department where we had activities and that. And a lot of people encouraged me, and they said it was great poetry and to keep writing poetry. And I suppose getting that encouragement at such an early stage, and you know, at a place where it was a difficult place to be, it gave me an outlet, you know.
yeah,
And so I discovered very soon that writing was a great way of releasing anxiety or releasing tension, or if I was feeling low or if I was worried or troubled about something, I could write it down and make it into a poem and use it, use my creativity instead of talking to someone, because I suppose I didn't feel comfortable talking. I didn't really tell people I was gay, and I kept it a secret. I told one person when I was 16, but the reaction wasn't very good, and so I didn't say it again until I was 21. So keeping that secret, I suppose, I told my secrets to the paper
right,
as
right,
poetry. I
yeah,
wrote them down, and it developed it like that. And then I kept writing poetry and keeping collections of poetry until I was about 26. And then at 26, I wrote my first song, and you know, that was that was amazing, because I thought, oh, I can write songs. I didn't know I could write songs. I hadn't thought about writing songs, you know.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I suppose what I've picked up in some of your songs, spirituality and where does maybe God fit into this? And I think you've maybe referred to stories from the Gospels in some of these things. Do you see any comment about that?
Yeah, like I've written a couple of books based on the Gospels. I wrote poetry inspired by the Gospels. I would take pieces, segments of the Gospel, and write poetry on them. And I'm doing those collections. I did publish Mark's Gospel, and I'm doing Matthew's this year. So the faith really came into it. When I was a child, church was important in our family, and rosary at night, prayer at night. We used to say the rosary, and I suppose there was a great unity in our family because of prayer. You know, apart from everything else that was going on, we had our faith, and
Yeah.
well, I suppose I derived a sense of security from faith. You know, and I was very interested in the Bible as a child. I never read it, of course, as a child, but I thought I'd like to read it. You know, I thought it was very interesting, and I was very interested in the story of Jesus and Zacchaeus, and you know those stories we heard in
Yeah.
school, and different. You know, I was very impressed with the idea of Jesus and his message of love. You know, and wasn't too impressed with the whole crucifixion idea, but I you know, I didn't understand all that. And, but when I was in hospital, when I was 16 or 17, I was suddenly in a situation where I was no longer with my family. I was no longer with my church. I was with strangers, people I didn't know. There was a lot of very ill people around me. I was very ill myself.
Yeah.
So I had nowhere to turn to, only faith. And so
Mm.
I turned to faith, and I developed a relationship with God there, really. I think that's where I found God, really. I found God in the darkness of that situation for me,
Yeah.
because I had nowhere else to go. And,
Yeah.
so I developed very strong faith then there in Jesus, particularly in Jesus.
Mm.
And I kept that faith going on in my life. You know, even though I didn't go to church much in my 20s, I drank a lot. I ended up drinking alcoholically for about 10 years,
Mm.
the age of 20 to 30. Didn't go near church much. I would go into churches occasionally, or especially if I was in trouble or that, finding life hard.
Mm.
But I always kept that faith, and if I was in any situation, I would tend to ask God for help, Jesus especially, you know.
Mm. Mm.
Trust.
Thank you, Denis. Yeah, thank you for reflecting on that. And I suppose just say Denis and I connected through Mucklidea, which connects LGBTQ Christians or people of faith. And thank you for, you know, within that you mentioned alcohol. Do you want to tell us something about your journey with alcohol, for want of a better way of putting it, if that's okay?
Yeah, of course. I think alcohol, and for me, cigarettes as well. I was a bit of a cigarette addict as well when I was drinking, and but alcohol. I was diagnosed with bipolar when I was 21. I
Mm.
don't care much for diagnosis really.
Yeah.
It helps in some situations, but I'm not a big fan of diagnosis. I don't believe that people can recover
Mm.
from illnesses like that, but I felt a lot of recovery in my own life. But I think I drank a lot. Like by the age I was 21, I was drinking almost every day,
Mm.
maybe every day, every night, you know. And it was kind of it was pleasurable, it was enjoyable. There was a lot of parties, you know, big social life. I worked in hotels, I worked in bars, so it was a big social life for me. And, but I think it was kind of I think being gay was a big part of it as well, you know, drinking out of shame and out of feeling less than and guilty and not being able to express fully, and
Yeah.
especially with the mental health as well. Drinking alleviated depression maybe at times, or maybe it felt like it did, or maybe if the moods were high, I could drink on that, or so.
Yeah.
It tended to get worse as time went on, and there was less parties, and the social life was less enjoyable, and the mental health was getting worse. You know,
Mm.
it got very bad towards the end of, you know, my 20s. So you know, it was really it was it was time to look at my drinking and see. You know, it was very hard to let it go because I was very fond of it and I really enjoyed the social. You know, I was very addicted, I suppose, really, and letting go was a kind of well, what was I letting go to? Like, what kind
Right.
of a life would I have without drink? You know, because it was
Right.
such a big part of my life. But I got help. I got help from a lot of people, you know, who had stopped drinking in their own lives, and you know, I found out that to stay sober and to stay free of alcohol, I needed to develop a spiritual life as well. You know,
Mm. Mm.
I needed to develop that. I had to keep moving forward spiritually, or else I'd go backwards, back into the drinking game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Denis. And thank you for your honesty and your openness here, which, you know, it's everybody. I'm aware whenever people share openly their stories in this setting, you know, it touches people, and it's not for everybody to speak openly, and we all decide what we should speak about or not. But it's you know, it's real, alcohol addiction is real for so many people around about us. And you've had others that have journeyed with you, and you've received encouragement from others along the way of your journey as well. Maybe that's not something.
Yeah, absolutely. Others who have gone before me and recovered from alcoholism, and also professionals have helped me a lot, you know.
Great, super.
Like at that stage, I took an interest going back to church, and I started attending the Catholic church. I was living in Galway City at that stage. I'm still in Galway City in Knocknacarra, the outskirts, and you know, I just started going back to church and going to mass and the sacraments, confessions, and all that, you know, and taking an interest in all that. So that was a very interesting journey again, like, you know. So.
Right. Would you have? No, I'm just wondering this now. In terms of the church, and in that journey of healing, in a sense, and yet, would you also have connected the church with challenges around your sexuality and the original problems, or is that a mixed relationship? Or I mean, I don't want to push into that too much if you don't want to say anything. But.
No, it was very mixed relationship. Still is a mixed relationship for me. I think, you know, there's a lot of homophobia associated with church, and I think there's a lot of homophobia in church teaching. So at the age of 30, I had to start navigating that and finding my own way. And you know, starting to wonder, well, is what they're teaching about homosexuality or gay relations, is that true, or how can it be true, and how does it reflect in my life, and how do I feel about that, and how does that make me feel? So I had to ask those kind of questions and talk about that and read about it, and like things like Amoknagia, like I've involved in Amoknagia now, and I've been involved with other groups over the years as well around that kind of support, you know. So yeah, that's been a challenge, but it's been great as well, because just to have a lot of support from people who are spiritual, you know, who wouldn't have been homophobic as well, and that would be great.
Yeah. Great, thank you, Denis. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you there? So. No. And just can I ask anything about the shutdown of the pandemic of past 14 months? I presume that's been a challenge for you as well, maybe during this time, and you have some ways in which you, given where you're located in Galway, there you like to go swimming as well as part of your.
Yeah, swimming is good. I went swimming yesterday, actually. It was lovely. The water was lovely and warm, and I live near the sea, so I can enjoy a good swim whenever I want, really. And I did a lot of it over the winter. You know, I did a lot of it over the winter,
But rather you than me getting into the water.
It was my first winter. It was my first winter doing it. So, but that's lockdown fever. I think it was like, where do you go? Like, you know, what do you do? You know,
you can't go anywhere else, and there's no indoor.
Yeah, and there was a bit of a social aspect to swimming as well. You know, like there'd be a few people swimming down there when we go down, and I'd usually meet with a friend and we'd swim together as well. So that was great.
Super. Well, Denis, I believe you have. Are you going to sing something for us?
Sure. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. This is a bit of a first on Tuesday chat. So we're having a song. So really appreciate you doing this. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a great opportunity to sing. I love performing music and singing, and um, there's healing in songs, I think.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
definitely writing a song, there's great healing in it for me. When I write a song, it usually gives me an insight into where I'm at and
Mm,
where I'm going and what I'm doing. And um, it's I really get something out of it. This
mm.
song is called Whipperwell. And a whippoorwill is a North American bird, and which
Okay,
only comes out at night. It's a nighttime bird.
okay.
And it features in country music. Hank Williams would have sang about hear that lonesome whippoorwill. You know, it had a lonesome sound. So this song reminds me of my uncle, who I mentioned earlier. He died when I was about 20. And he was in his 50s. He died of cancer. A lovely man. He was very he was a very sober man. He didn't drink. He was a pioneer, and it was just really connected to nature, and he had dogs and a farm, and I used to love spending time with him on the farm. So I
Mm,
think I didn't write the song about him, but after I started singing it, I thought this really reminds me of him. So
mm.
there you go. I gaze across the empty fields, the bare trees, the fallen leaves. I think I hear a lonesome cry when I think of you. I never heard a whippoorwill. I hear they sound so blue. I think about those whippoorwills when I think of you. The whistle of an eastbound train, the cold north wind, the piercing rain. I think I hear a lonesome cry when I think of you. I never heard a whippoorwill. I hear they sound so blue. I think about those whippoorwills when I think of you. Everything that makes me blue makes me think of me and you. I never heard a whippoorwill. Someday soon, I'm sure I will. I never heard a whippoorwill. I hear they sound so blue. I think about those whippoorwills when I think of you. Oh,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you for leading us there, and thank you for being on Tuesday Chat with us.
Great, Stephen. Thanks. You'll find my songs on YouTube and Spotify, and my books are on Amazon. They're all there. So if you just look,
Okay.
you'll
Well, I'll
find
tell
them.
you what. We'll make sure that the links to them are on our post of this.
Yeah, I'll send you the links. I'll send you the links. You can stick them on the
Super.
thing. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you very
Great.
much, Dennis, for being with us today.
It's great to be here, Stephen. Great to talk to you, and I hope your viewers get to benefit from the story, and I'd love to hear from them if they do. So thanks.